got Feddun here. It's a big week here on the podcast for a multitude of reasons. Not just because our guest is Taylor Hollingsworth, who, in addition to being an amazing songwriter, guitar player, and visual artist, he did the album art for the album that you can see on the thumbnail for this episode. Also played with Connor Oberst for several years in his band, and we talk all about that. It's a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to Taylor. He's a really great guy. I liked his show so much the night of the interview that we did that I went and saw him 2 more times in a couple other cities. It was fantastic. Go check out Taylor Hollingsworth if he's coming near you. Check out his records. They're awesome. And his new songs that he's playing right now are so good, too. So make sure you check those out. There is one thing that I feel like I should mention really quick regarding this interview. When we talked about Blue Tavern, I said a lot of things that were totally true, and I love that place. And that Carrie has made a really amazing space there. But what did not ring true was the fact that the crowd ended up being quite talkative that night. Even folks that were like clearly there to see Taylor play, which was surprising, which in my experience is not super normal for the Blue Tavern. And I talk about how it usually is a very quiet room to Taylor right before he played that room. So I felt Tallahassee, you let me down. In general, I think we need to be a little bit more respectful about the conversations we have while people are performing. Keep that in mind. Other things going on in the Overeducated and Underemployed universe. Next week, we're going to have Danny Bedrosian from Parliament Funkadelic talking to us about his new book, Make My Funk the P-Funk, which comes out tomorrow. So you can go ahead and order it and read it before you listen to our interview next week. We've got Matthew Dudley coming up in a couple of weeks here with an update from our friend Francis Thrasher, who's got a show opening up in Athens at the Ace Francisco Gallery. Make sure you check that out. She's also on the cover of Flagpole magazine right now, so grab one of those while you're out and about in Athens, or now's a great time to subscribe to that magazine. We're going to have her on to talk about that. Then in 3 weeks, we're going to have Jim West, the legendary guitar player from Weird Al Yankovic's band. I'll be heading to Athens, Georgia to sit down with people like Jason Thrasher, John Neff, and we've got a live episode coming up with Dozat Saint Marie, so be on the lookout. We got a bunch of really cool guests coming up on this podcast, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Other big news this week, Sloan Brothers, who did the theme song that you just heard on this podcast, has a new single out called In a Movie. Check it out. He's also got a new EP coming out. It's on Bandcamp. There's a link to it in the description. It's a very limited press on vinyl. Make sure you pre-order yours because it's probably going to be gone before it even releases. Lots of exciting things coming up here. I'm going to be at Flicker Bar on November 18th to do a set there. So those of you in Athens who want to see some stand-up comedy of mine, come check it out. Lots of great things going on. But without further ado, here's my interview with Taylor Hollingsworth. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. All right, you're on Overeducated and Underemployed.
Right on.
I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to start with the question I ask everybody first, which is, what's the first song that you remember loving as a kid?
First song I remember loving as a kid, maybe it was probably Great Balls of Fire, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Hell yeah. Do you remember how you heard it the first time?
It's kind of, I remember there's a few songs, but I had do you remember those little pocket rockers that had the little tiny cassette tapes?
Yeah.
They were marketed, I was born in 1980, so it was marketed perfectly towards a kid my age. They were it was like a boom box you could fit in your pocket. and it played these tiny cassettes, and each little cassette had 2 songs, one on each side. So I remember I had 2 cassettes, and I know one had Great Balls of Fire on it, and
Was it the original, like the Jerry Lee Lewis version?
Yeah, the Jerry Lee Lewis version, yeah.
Because like later they started doing like kids versions of all songs.
Oh, okay. No, this is definitely Jerry Lee Lewis version,
cool.
and I was obsessed with that song.
Do you remember how old you were?
Not really. I would guess like 6 or 7 or something, 5 or 6, 7, 8, anywhere somewhere in that range.
Yeah. But like old enough to remember, but not old enough to for it to be super vivid or.
No, I just have memories of. I grew up in an apartment. We were on the lower level, and there was like a swimming pool that the apartment complex shared, and it was like right by our building.
Yeah.
And I remember I would run out my door, blasting that song, and then there was a couple other songs, like one of them was, I want to say on the other side, it might have been Tequila.
Okay.
I could be confusing. My memory is, that was so long ago.
That song's played like I feel like by every middle school band and stuff
I
too.
think because Pee Wee Herman, I don't know what year that movie came out, but I'm just guessing now that maybe that movie had come out, and maybe that song was big because of that movie. But that could have been in reverse order because I don't know what actually year that movie came out, but. I just feel like it was a song like that. If it wasn't Tequila, it was something like that. And then
like Pee Wee's Playhouse was a little bit later than that. But
I'm talking about the
much.
movie.
Yeah.
Pee-wee Herman's Pee Wee's Big Adventure, because that had that scene with the song Tequila. But you're very right. It could have come out.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, and it's one of those things where a movie uses it because it was popular once, and then it, like I feel like. Bohemian Rhapsody charted again when Wayne's World used it.
Definitely.
I always associated Great Balls of Fire, and I was born in '86, which is the year this movie came out, with Top Gun.
Yeah.
Because they sing it in the bar together. And it's not the Jerry Lee. And I went back and always listened to the Jerry Lee Lewis version, but that song, just that scene of them singing it together in the bar in Top Gun, it's not at the beginning with. When they sing,
so there's another version of that song, like somebody else.
They don't even sing the whole thing, man. It's just Tom Cruise and Goose, Val Kilmer, or not Val Kilmer, but whoever played Goose, the guy that died. They're sitting in a bar with his wife, like Goose's wife, and they're singing Great Balls. And I feel like that's the first time I ever heard that song.
Yeah,
and then maybe it gets played in the credits or something like that. But
yeah.
But I definitely went and heard the original after that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the first song I was inquisitive about, but it was definitely like one of them.
Up there, yeah.
And I first heard it in a movie. Associated with that movie when you were Tequila. Did you associate it with that with Pee Wee back then? You think?
I think I did, or the Pocket Rocker itself.
Yeah, it's cool how a device like that can.
I was also really into the Beach Boys, like the early, like Surf and Safari. I remember that was my favorite song.
My mom would put me on her knee in the pool, and I'd be surfing on her knee, and she would sing that song. Yeah, real young.
Yeah.
It was a community pool.
I was very much into oldies music, though, like that kind of golden oldies. That's what my mom listened to a lot. And then I guess my dad listened to some of that stuff.
Stuff with harmonies and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of harmonies in that stuff for sure. But yeah, it was the simple, short form pop song. It was like the early version of that. And I just loved it. I loved I still love music from that time. Like, it's still, if I had to say like an era of time that had the most of my favorite recordings, I would probably still pick the 50s to the early 60s before before the like big psychedelic era, which had some stuff that I really loved, but a lot of stuff that I really don't care for now.
It's interesting you say that, but I'm going to put a pin in that thought until we get to now. Because
yeah.
I think I hear some influence of that stuff on your latest record more than your previous stuff. But we can get there when we get there. But I wanted to plant the seed so you can be like, oh, maybe not. Maybe tell me how I'm wrong. That's fine too.
Yeah. I can tell you how I got there or wherever it is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you loved music as a kid. Like you had this device to carry music around with you. Super young.
I loved music as a kid for sure. I didn't have any even interest or thought of playing music at that time. I don't believe I ever touched a guitar or picked or got at my own guitar. I'm not gonna say touched, but like learned to play a chord on a guitar until I was probably like 14 years old.
Yeah.
So a good bit later. My brother, who's 3 years younger than me, he actually got a guitar before I did.
Gotcha.
And so that was maybe a bit of a reason I was like got interested, but not really. Mostly it was an attraction towards the music and the bands I was listening to at the time, and something to do socially with my friends.
Yeah.
I didn't really take it very seriously at all. But
at its core, that's really what it should be, right?
Yeah.
Even when you become the guy that makes it, that's the goal for you, to have other people do that while listening to your music. So what was there? And I know you lost your dad at a pretty young age, and that was a catalyst for you starting to play me. At least that's something I've read. I don't know how exactly true that is in terms of cause and effect.
It was in a couple different ways. It was in a way that, like, first of all, in a very direct way, one of my dad's best friends owned this cool guitar store in Birmingham called Highland Music. It's still the coolest guitar store in Birmingham.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's like a pretty famous
music
store,
sure
even in the South. Yeah, maybe you've heard of it.
No, I definitely have.
Yeah, so
I've been there a couple times.
Yeah, they carry cool vintage. They're like the only place you could get a really cool vintage guitar or like a cool vintage amp. Or he doesn't have any deals with any big corporate guitar companies or distributors like that. Like he sells It's funny because I didn't even know that part until recently. When I was looking for the Strat that I bought, I knew I wanted a brand new Strat. I was like, I want a very high level, nice Stratocaster, because I was just suddenly got interested in it, but I didn't want to fuck around with any like. I just had so many guitar troubles in the recent years as the more I'm playing with them. That was like, I need something nice that I wanted stainless steel frets. I wanted real high quality parts to it. And it's funny because I called him. I was like, hey, man, this is what I need. And he was like, oh, yeah, I don't have a deal with Fender or anything, so just order it online. I was like, what? Okay. So I ordered it online, and anyway, I love the guitar I got. I had to completely reset it. It's funny because I ordered it from Sweetwater, and I paid for their pro setup. It's like a few $100 extra. And it was like the crappiest setup ever. It was like literally like such a joke of a setup. So I had to undo it all, and I just reset it up exactly. And this was just recently.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Within the last year, yeah.
I got you. Sorry, we jumped around in time there.
No, I'm talking about the new Strat.
The new Strat, gotcha.
Yeah, but sorry, to go back to what you were saying, that was a direct influence right there. Done, like, I had a friend down the street from me who was selling a Les Paul knockoff for $50, and I had saved up money, and I bought it from him because I thought it was a cool looking black Les Paul. I was like, okay, I want to learn how to play guitar now that I was into like all this kind of like early grunge and rock, whatever was really big, like Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins, all that kind of stuff.
Because
Pearl
you
Jam.
were old enough at the time to like really get into that.
Oh yeah, I was the prime age for it.
Yeah.
And going through, like, watching my dad get sick and then die and living. I grew up in this like very like wealthy community that like, but we were not. We were just living in this apartment, and my parents.
There's a complex here that I can very analogous.
The reason we were there is because basically my parents were very young when I was born, and their family and family members had told them, you gotta have them in. That's the best school and all this stuff. Right, so they followed that path of what they were just told to do, and so we grew up around all these like super rich kids, and we lived in this kind of crummy apartment. It was tiny and it sucked. But anyway, by the time I'm a young teenager, I'm full of angst and I'm angry,
you know, a lot to be angry about.
Yeah, and I'm surrounded by all these kids with these perfect lives, and I'm not only not feeling included or feeling like I belong there, but I'm also being like heavily bullied and picked on at that time.
Yeah.
So I was primed for music like that was sad and angry underneath it. It was like made for me.
Yeah, no, I
spoke to me.
I think like comedians have a very similar like most comedians like wish they could be rock stars, but they have to settle for being comedians. And then like, a lot of rock stars kind of wish they could be comedians.
Yeah, the rock star thing is.
And my listeners have heard that over and over again, but I think it's true. Like it's pretty like most musicians are like, yeah, the comedy thing doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah.
Or they write really funny lyrics sometimes and things like that. And which I think that you have definitely done. You put a lot of humor into your songs.
Yeah, I like to. Yeah, now as a songwriter, I try to write a good bit of music that I feel is just fun and makes you like have a good time. Like to me, it's. I get writing a sad song. I actually just wrote one like a couple days ago that is just so sad and heartbreaking, a story that I came up with. But for the most part, I don't want to feel sad. I want to lose the sadness. I want to not dwell on that, and I want to be happy, which is why when I think back to being a kid, the music that I love from the 50s was that. It was this bubblegum pop, happy, fun songs that made you feel good. And occasionally you might get a sadder song, but for the most part.
I'm thinking of Walking in the Rain. That's like lyrically, Walking in the Rain's a pretty sad song, but it's still
there's some
very
sadness.
Upbeat, but tonally and tempo-wise, it's still like very, it might be in the minor key. I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask that, but it's still very much upbeat, like joyful. And I'm wondering, sometimes do you need to write a song, like a sad song, to like deal with to get it out of your system, so then you can move on from it?
I think in this case of the one I wrote the other day that I did, kind of. It was something that one was something that had been in my mind for a while, and I had thought on it for a long time and how I would do it in my own way, and it never came to me until I heard a couple other songs that inspired it.
Yeah.
It was almost like a response to those.
Do you write mostly about real things that you've encountered, or do you write a lot of kind of fictional stories, or how do you approach that?
I mostly write fiction, but I splice in real stuff that I have either experienced personally or basically, I've experienced personally. Like, especially if I want, like, overall, the story will be fiction and kind of something I'm coming up with in my mind, inventing on my own. But if I want to say, close out a phrase with a very powerful line that I think that I want people to relate to, and I want it to really hit them in the gut, that's when I'll put in a line that's personal to me or that's happened. Because typically, if it has happened to me and gotten to me, it's going to also have happened to others or be relatable to others.
Yeah, BJ Barham, who hasn't been on the podcast yet, but I was talking to him after he gave a talk with Chuck Reese from Salvation South. We have a fest here that he gets to curate a stage for every year. Hopefully, maybe he'll bring you onto that stage next year. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're the perfect, like I'm like thinking about you. It's the perfect place for you to play. But BJ was doing like a Q&A, songwriters in the round kind of thing. And he said, it's something similar. Most of his songs are like, especially these days, they're like fictional.
Yeah.
But there's always at least one line that is like pure truth. And that kind of brings the authenticity to what he's doing, to what he's singing about. And
right.
So let's go back for a second. You're listening to a lot of grunge and stuff like that when you pick up a guitar for the first time. Is that right?
Yeah, when I pick up the guitar for the first time, that's what I was going for. I think one of the first songs I learned was probably like Smells Like Teen Spirit or something.
Yeah.
I think the very first thing I learned was actually Tom Petty, Free Fallin', because it was that D chord shape. And that's, even though that's actually not how he plays it, but it sounds like it. So it sounds real.
It's like close.
It's real easy, and a beginner can do that. I think that was the first thing like a friend of mine showed me. But as soon as my dad died and I bought that guitar, the owner of Highland Music, he gave me and my brother free lessons for a good 6 months.
Yeah.
Just to give us something to do and keep us busy. And
right.
And he, I think day one, like they were tuning my guitar for me and the tuner fell off. It just broke off.
Oh, no.
And he just threw it in the trash.
And this is the Les Paul copy that you bought?
rip-off. He threw it in the trash, and he picked another guitar up off the wall, which was a Washburn.
That's what I've got.
Yeah, which was like this Washburn, which I didn't like because the headstock always weighted down, but but it was still much nicer. It had real metal tuner. It would hold its tune.
They make all solid bodies, and
it's cool. It's actually the Washburn that I've seen now. There's all these early videos of R.L. Burnside. He was playing the same one, which I think is super cool. Of course, I didn't know who he was back then, but yeah, it's that same one. If you
I love
videos of RL when he's
real
skinny and he's playing out in his yard. He's playing. You find the video where he's playing like this electric Washburn. It's that one.
Okay, I'm gonna find it. That's what
cool.
I'm gonna do after your show tonight.
Yeah.
Which I'm stoked that you're playing at the Blue Tavern's a venue here in town, and I promised Carrie I'd mention it, so I'm going to right now. I'm gonna make sure I do it. It's a venue in town that really focuses a lot on local artists. To be honest with you,
great.
It's not often that they get a lot of touring musicians in there. So this is a treat for, I think, for the venue, and cool. But also it's like where all the musicians hang out too.
I've heard really good things about it. And,
it's great, man. It's a really community-based spot.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's like where all the musicians in town hang out too.
Yeah.
It's not just where they play, but they're there most nights for happy hour and that sort of thing.
It's cool.
They have a really good, just like a culture of listening, not talking through shows, which I think is really rare.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, you'll get dirty looks if you talk. You say everybody's got a comment to make to their friend or whatever, but if you start trying to have a full-on conversation, you're going to start to get dirty looks in there.
Yeah.
It's a really great spot, man. So I'm really stoked to see you in there tonight.
I'm excited.
And Carrie's worked really hard to build a place that's like a safe haven from all the bullshit out there.
Yeah.
It's a good spot to If you're gonna land in a random spot in Tallahassee, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
What are you doing on this tour right now? Are you like, what's the trajectory? What do you?
The goal or whatever.
Maybe not externally, but maybe more so like internally. What are you working on?
The goal is running my own small little business, and I've been doing this for a long time. For the last my daughter's 12, about to be 13. So up until this last year, I had quit all the touring I had been doing and just played as a local musician in Birmingham.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's been a long time since I'd seen you play out. I saw you last year this year up at the Dialback Sound showcase that they had at Flickr as part of the homecoming.
Yeah,
Heathen's homecoming thing up next door to the 40 watt. But that's like the only time I've seen you play outside of Birmingham and before then in a long time, or maybe immediately before then, but up until the last year or so.
Yeah, so for about half that time of playing local, I was doing it as a duo with my friend Alan, who was the drummer for Dead Fingers. Mm-hmm. That was me and my wife's band.
Yeah.
And then about halfway through, right around when COVID happened, there was no gigs for about a year. And then when I came back out of that, I decided I wanted to just push solo with that little foot stomp. My whole life, I had been watching guys play one-man shows. Like, I remember all the way back to being probably 10, 11, 12 years old. My dad was really into this guy, Chris Smither, an incredible player, guitar player, and songwriter. And he does like a foot tap thing. He doesn't do it like a lower kick drum sound like I do.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember early on just always thinking like how cool that was. And as I got older and playing, for years I was playing with all these bands, and I had my own solo sort of 3-piece punk band, rock and roll band or whatever for a little while, and that did surprisingly, we actually did pretty good for that. But
yeah, I saw that band.
Yeah. Oh, cool. We did that for as long as it could last, basically. Shortly after that died is when I started playing with Connor Oberst in the Mystic Valley Band. And then after that was like then Dead Fingers pretty much, and then we had our daughter and got married and settled down, got a house and stuff. At that point is when I was like, okay, I either am going to have to like basically get a real job and either quit playing music, or I'm going to have to figure out how to make a living playing as a local musician. And I knew people that did that, so that was appealing to me because I didn't go to college. I went for 1 year and did horrible, didn't try at all. But
yeah,
I just wasn't at all inspired or interested in it. But
I was only interested in the classes that I was interested in.
Yeah,
I mean,
I really even that I was like not. I was only at that time I was just purely interested in playing guitar and trying to work my way into a real band as a guitar player. I wasn't trying to write songs at that time. But anyway,
that was actually going to be like my next question is, so you start playing guitar 14, 15, and you're really just a guitar player for quite some time.
Yeah.
And then when did you start writing your own songs?
So I somehow did pretty good as a guitar. Like for all those years of say 14 to say 19 or 20, I was like pretty good at guitar. I really didn't work hard at it or practice at all. I jammed like with my friends and stuff. I thought I was way better than I actually was. Like, you know, I certainly now know I didn't know shit then, which I thought I was like, oh, this is easy for me.
That's the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like the more, like the better you get at something, the worse you feel at it.
Called? Yeah.
The more you know about it, the more you know that you don't know.
That's definitely happening.
And then the less you know, like the more you
think
you're an expert. Yeah.
Right. So that happened to me for sure.
It's happening to America.
It is happening to America. You're right. Once I had an opportunity to play, like there were these guys I worked with in this little bagel shop, and they were like signed to this indie label, and I was like very wowed by them. Wow, these guys are actually.
What band was that?
They were called Flair.
Okay.
And they were this local Birmingham band that I thought was just super cool. And they gave me a shot, like, to audition for their band, and I failed the first audition. But we worked together, and they really liked me as a person.
Yeah.
So their bass player, his name was Adam Snable. He was a super nice guy. He actually really pushed me to keep practicing. He was like, just keep practicing those songs. Get them down really good. I'm going to talk the guys into letting you have one more shot. And they did. They gave me one more shot, and then I passed it that time, and I got in the band, and I was like so excited. So I was probably about 20 or something, about 20 years old.
It was about the year 2000.
Yeah, about the year 2000. And then that band broke up pretty much immediately before their record even came out on the label that they had just gotten signed to.
Was that a shock to you, or did you expect it, or?
I was a little shocked at how far they had come to not pursue it, but I also knew the singer, the main guy who was the songwriter. I knew he was, I could tell he was having some ethical and moral confusion, like with the whole rock and roll and being in a band lifestyle to begin with, the whole picture of it.
Gotcha.
So in that way, I wasn't that shocked, but they had actually taught me about the two other cool bands from the area, which at the time there were plenty more cool bands, but they taught me about two of them. This band called Verbena and this band called the Dexateens. Both of those bands I got into as well. So Verbena asked me to play after Flair, and that was like the real deal type shit. It was like, wow, they were actually signed to Capitol Records.
Right.
And like, as soon as I got in the band, we like flew to LA to like work on this huge production record by this guy. Rob Schnoff was the producer. You probably know who he is. He did Elliott Smith records. Yeah. He did Beck records. He was like, this is Capitol Records.
Right. Yeah. This is the people that.
It's the big time.
Yeah. So, and they did that Dandy Warhols.
Yeah.
This is around the same time they're doing that Dandy Warhol.
Yeah, and this band was similar a little bit stylistically, like, or at least.
I don't know if you've seen Dig.
Vibe-wise. Yeah, I've seen Dig. I actually can't stand the Dandy Warhols, but.
Yeah, me.
I really do.
Brian Jonestown Massacre. I like it in that movie. But that's what's going on, and it's around the same time. Like, it's Capitol Records, early 2000s.
Totally.
And they're putting $100,000 into a music video.
Totally. Exactly. So, anyway, what happened was I got in that band, but then I got out there, and the singer was like this just very, like, manipulating and controlling kind of guy. And he basically... he wouldn't let me play on the record, really, or they weren't asking me, and I was like, I'm not going to go beg, but they weren't, like, asking me to play, so I was just out there twiddling my thumbs, doing nothing. I'm pretty stubborn. I was not very happy with the situation. Once we came back to Birmingham, we were supposed to do this, like, demo session to then fly back out and do the second session of recordings, and I just didn't show up to the demo sessions, and then the singer took that as a big ol' fuck you, and I was like, this little kid's not gonna even show up. I'm like, yeah, I didn't show up because y'all haven't had me do anything, so what am I showing up for? Why am I even going out there? Just to, like, be in a photo or something? So that quickly ended. he had the other guys come to my house and tell me I was like out of the band. So stupid.
It's like some
I'm
high
like,
school
yeah,
shit.
no shit. I know it's total high school shit. And this guy's 10 years older than me at the time. So anyway,
that's awesome.
I thought it was so dumb. But around that time, Matt Patton, I'd met him at the Nick hanging out. And me and him became like best friends immediately. And he was in the Dexateens, original member. And at that time, they were still very much a punk band.
Yeah. It was like around just before Single Wide came out.
No, this
Earlier.
is what
Okay.
was referred to as the Headphones record. It has headphones on the front.
I do know that
But it's
record,
just
yeah.
self-titled. It's just called
Yeah.
Dexateens. It came out on Estrus, which was a cool garage punk label based out of somewhere around Seattle. I can't remember what town, but right on the coast up there.
My boss bought me that record at Vinyl Fever for my 18th birthday.
Killer record.
Yeah, it really, yeah. No, that was like, he was like, you're getting into Americana, listen to this shit.
Yeah. And this was really before even they went sort of in the Americana
he was
direction.
like a garage
yeah,
rock.
it
He
was
knew
real-
they were twangy sometimes.
Oh, definitely twingy.
Yeah.
That's what made him stand out. So anyway, that guitar player, John Smith, who's just an incredible guitar player, he was just very kind to me. All those guys were just very nice to me. He told the other guys, he was like, this is the perfect guy. He was moving to another city to teach art at a college, at a university. And he was like, this kid's going to be perfect for the band. He'll cover what I was doing with the twangy leads and all that. So I did, and we did some cool shows. We went to England and played like a week there and played a lot around the South and stuff. But around that time, I was starting to know, I guess I had already started when I exited Verbena. I got it in my head that all these people I know have gotten to this level and they're writing their own songs and they're doing everything themselves. And I realized at that time that I was probably only going to really be happy if I was doing everything myself. I didn't just want to be a sideman anymore. I didn't like being able to just be replaced or feel easily replaceable. So that's when I basically was like, I'm going to teach myself how to write songs. And I remember I had just gotten a credit card not long before that, and I swiped it and I bought a Tascam 4-track, like a SM58, a drum machine, a bunch of cables, an entire PA system, so I could have practices all in one swipe. I was like, and I was a little scared. I was spending a lot of money. Of course, now it's really not that much money, probably.
No, but
for the time, for me, $1,500 was like a lot of money.
Sure.
But I didn't care. I was like, all right, I have to have these things, and I have to have them now. And nobody's gonna give me this money.
And you wanted to. There was a certain part of you that I can tell you, like, you wanted to do it, maybe not perfectly, but you wanted to have the right stuff from the beginning.
In a way, I wasn't at that time. I wasn't like, I didn't care about having like really cool vintage gear or anything like that.
But I guess more like you wanted to have everything you needed.
I wanted to have everything I needed for sure. Yeah. So I got basically
self-sufficient.
the lowest level of everything I needed, so I could be completely self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Exactly. So once I made that record, the 4-track record, my friend Travis Morgan in Birmingham had just started this label called Sky Bucket Records. Ended up putting out some of the Dexateens records and a bunch of cool bands from Birmingham. So my album that I made was his first release.
Oh, wow.
So we were like, we had been friends for years. We met in elementary school. Like, we went way back. So it was like a little bit of a friend team partnership. Let's see how we can do. And we handmade every CD package and wrote on every one of them. And
it sounds so much like the bands I was hanging out with, like, around that same time.
Yeah.
Like, we're burning CDs.
And there wasn't streaming yet. So
No.
Yeah.
We were going to the mall and handing out CDs
Yeah.
and flyers.
Yeah. I remember my first review, I dropped it off at the local paper, which was called the Black and White in Birmingham. And I had a cassette tape that I'd made, And every cassette tape I wrote on whiteout. That was the name of the cassette in actual whiteout. And the review, the guy was like, I don't even know what to say. There's whiteout crumbling all over my desk. But he gave me this glowing review. But he was like, at the same time as this handmade crappy CD and cassette tape is falling apart on my desk as I open it, I put it in my stereo, and I think it might be the coolest garage rock music I've ever heard from Birmingham, Alabama. So I got this like immediately, like locally, I got this immediate like glowing review from, and this paper was known to like kind of bash.
Kind of like Pitchfork.
Yeah, yeah. On a local level, they would just trash local music and trash music that was touring through that they were writing about or whatever too. So it was hard to get a good review out of them. So when people saw that, they were like, "Whoa, what the hell, dude?"
Well, and it could have been the last tape that player ever got to play.
Sure,
jammed
very,
up with
very likely.
Maybe unintended consequences.
Yeah, very likely.
So then, how did you end up getting linked up with Connor Oberst after that? Because this is probably 2 or 3 years before that, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So this would have been around. So now we're probably at 2003.
Okay.
Like a couple years after those other bands.
And he's about to put out "I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning," which is
yeah. So I met. He was dating my wife, like my now, who I'm married to, her sister.
Okay.
Maria Taylor. So I met her through that Verbena crowd and all, because she was more like in their age group.
Gotcha.
And we became friends, and she actually brought Connor. I was playing in Atlanta at the Earl.
Yeah, I love the Earl, yeah.
I was playing a show there with my band.
And that was Taylor and the... I'm sorry.
At the time, that was probably just called Taylor Hollingsworth, but
Okay.
it was still like a rock band. It might have been called Taylor Hollingsworth and the Spider Eaters, but I don't think it was the Spider Eaters yet.
Okay.
But so, yeah, Connor and Maria came to the Earl to see me play. And that night, me and Connor hung out all night long. Like, just, we were like immediately just, we got super drunk together, and we were just like hugging each other all night. And we were just like best
Instant
friends
bros,
immediately. Yeah. And
Rad bromance.
so he came down for Christmas that year to Birmingham with his family to have Christmas with her family. And he threw like an impromptu Bright Eyes show that was like announced like the day before, the day of, or some shit, and literally still sold out like this huge
Right.
place.
Yeah, of course.
And he didn't have his band, so he was like, will you play guitar for that show? And he built a band out of like Maria's family, so it ended up being her brother, her dad, her sister, which is Kate, who's at the time was dating somebody else, now my wife. But so anyway, I ended up playing guitar. Ended up being this like incredible show. Like even Gillian Welch and David Rawlings drove down from Nashville and played like with us on the stage.
Oh, wow.
And I'm nowhere, especially at the time, I'm still not, but especially at the time, nowhere even, none of us were in the league of Gillian and Dave, like musicianship wise. But they came, we all played together. We had this just super magical, fun night. And then we just kept in touch. And then a couple years later, a lot of things were going on. My mom then got sick. She passed away. I was trying to like start this musical career, but at the same time, I was like, I moved back in to my house to take care of her. And I was there until she died. And then shortly after that, I got pretty bad, mixed up pretty bad on drugs.
Yeah.
With another group of friends I had for years. And at some point, Macy Taylor, who was my wife's brother, he had been invited by Connor to go to Mexico to record this first solo record. And Macy was like, I remember he called me and he was like, you should just fly down to Mexico. You got to get out of Birmingham. You can't be there. You got to get away from those people. And I knew that I needed to as well. I had no intentions of playing guitar or anything on that record. I just was trying to get away.
Yeah.
So I flew down to Mexico. I actually had another friend who was living in Mexico City at the time, Josh Johnson, cool garage rocker. He was in this band, The Spins, plays with a bunch of bands, Paint Fumes and stuff like that, like real garage punk. Super sweet guy. We were really good buddies back then. And I stayed with him for 3 to 4 days or something like that in his apartment in Mexico City. And then I drove down, or got a bus. I didn't have a car. Took a bus, figured out how to get down to this town called Teapot's Lawn, where Connor had rented out this compound to set up a studio in, have everybody have a place to live for the whole like month or whatever. And when I got there, Connor was like, hey man, I saved you a couple tracks to play guitar solos. And I was like, oh, I had no clue that was going to happen. So I laid down the guitars and it went very easily and quickly. He had a lot of the LA pros with him, and I think they were impressed that I could just jump in and do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the combination of that going well and everything.
And it probably built a lot of confidence for yourself, too.
Yeah, I built some confidence. At that time, I had confidence. I was more confident then than I am now.
But you were not doing well, it doesn't sound like.
I was not doing well with drugs. Mentally, I was still okay.
Okay.
Because I hadn't even dealt with any of it yet.
Gotcha.
I was...
Gotcha.
It's the same thing I did after my dad died. I had a bad drug problem then, too. I did that stuff to remove myself from the pain and not address it at all. Yeah. It was some sort of arrested development or something. I just put it in a box somewhere in the side of my head and left it there and didn't ever deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
honestly, I'm probably just now dealing with a lot of that within the last few years. So as I've like finally gotten off of all the drugs I was on for years. But so at that time though, I played the guitar, did that. Connor sent me an email, or his management did, or something like, hey, he's requested that you do these tours. And it was like this long list of tours, and it was like really good payment and everything. And I had never seen anything like that. I was like, yes, like I need to do that. I had just been dropped from my booking agent because I had a good booking agent for a year. Of course, I was a complete alcoholic and drug addict, so I did not handle that very well.
And you weren't like being able to like save a lot of money or anything.
Oh, I had no money.
Yeah.
No money. Yeah. Nothing. But I didn't care. I didn't need money. At that time, I didn't even have...
And you'd learned that you could survive it.
I didn't even live anywhere. I just crashed with a friend. I was like a complete transient. Yeah. I didn't I didn't even care to have a place. I had nothing. I had this place I rented. We called it the Gravel Pit. It was like the women's bathhouse out in the grounds of an old blast furnace that was just decrepit and falling apart. They rented out these little spaces for artists, like little art studios. No running water, nothing in there. It was a cinder block little square building that I had everything in. And I lived there.
It was like a storage unit that you were...
$50 a month. And I could keep all my shit in there, and I had a twin mattress on the floor, concrete floor, cinder block walls.
Power.
No, there's power,
but
there's no water.
Got it.
I had to go to the gas station up the street to use the bathroom or do anything like that. But there was power, so yeah, that's because that was what I told. Like, I needed power. I was like, I'm going to practice music out here. That was my reason to have the place. That's all I had, though, and I could easily come up with $50 a month. Other than that, I had a 15-passenger van that my manager from Atlanta had basically bought for me or was paying for. I handed that over once the agency dropped me because I dropped the label. I told the label I didn't want to make. I'd made the record Tragic City, and they wanted Tragic City #2, and I made Bad Little Kitty. And they thought that was insane. They were like, no, we cannot invest money in this record, but we will pay for another record if you'll make it. And I was like, no, this is the record. This is the record, and I'm stubborn, and I wasn't going to give an inch.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we really like you, but we're going to have to part ways. We just can't invest in that. And I thought that some cool label would immediately pick me up, and they didn't. And then my booking agent with the agency group dropped me instantly, and I was back to nothing. I had nothing.
Then you end up in Mexico.
But then I went to, that's when the drugs and all that happened. Then I went to Mexico. Then Connor was like, here, I got a job for you. Play lead guitar for the Mystic Valley Band. And it turned into the Valley Band.
And that went on for 3 years.
That ended up going on for a good long time. Yeah, probably about 3 years or something.
And then but it seems like you after that, it's almost like you return to the same lessons again, where you're like, maybe not quite as bitter this time around, but you're like, I want to put out my own music again.
So, yeah, so as I hung out with that crowd, I got more into the actual songwriting and the lyric writing, and I was inspired by Connor's style of writing, and like all his friends, they were all into this sort of really like lyrically focused writing, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to learn how to do that too, and I wanted to learn how to play. I thought maybe if it's lyrically driven, I can play by shows by myself, and I wouldn't have to afford a band and all that. So I made that album, Life with a Slow Ear, and then Connor put that out on the label at the time that he owned, called Team Love. It's based out in New York City. He sold that label later to another guy that worked for his group of people, but that record didn't really do anything. I think it was okay, but they actually, I don't know, I can't even get the vinyls for them. They never sent me any money for anything, and I paid for the record, so I got screwed over on that deal. Not by Connor, by people. But
that's what happens when like too many big executives and people with kids get involved in
it was
stuff
kind of when I
sometimes.
learned to be on his stuff. It was like you're always going to be secondary to him. Like they're always going to be focused on his career.
Yeah.
And you're like an afterthought.
But it sounds like working with him really shaped the way you write songs now and the way
sure.
you have in the last
I learned a
10 or
lot.
15
Yeah, I
years.
learned a lot, and I try to mix it with my old stuff too.
Yeah, I hear that. And I feel like maybe that's what I'm hearing more in this latest record. And I'm only pushing it forward because I know you got to get to the venue soon here. So I don't want to rush too much of this story, but I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about the new record.
Yeah.
There's a copy of it sitting behind you if you want to grab it and show it. I love it, man. I've been playing it a lot. And I do think it's different than a lot of your other solo records recently because I feel like now that I've heard your story, I feel like it's more that you're integrating some of your older sounds into it, not...
Yeah. I made it with
like,
Matt. That's a photo of us from back in that time period I'm talking about. That's actually me and Matt, and probably like 2001 or 2002, maybe. Maybe even 2000. I don't know. That's early. That's right when we were immediately like best friends right there. That could have been a Dexateens show. It might have been this band Cut Grass that we were playing in.
Is he as happy as he looks like when he's playing music? Because he just seems like he's...
Yeah.
Is he always that happy?
Only on stage.
Only on stage. Yeah. I feel like that's like the number one question people have is he always.
He's very happy on stage. He loves to perform and play bass for sure.
It's definitely his happy place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this new record, I feel like it really is like integration of everything you've ever done.
Yeah, so the new direction, that's what I'm trying. Once I did the local thing as a duo, then I switched it to solo. I knew I wanted to add that foot thing. Like I said, people I'd been watching for almost my whole life doing that. I was very inspired to get the biggest sound and get the most entertaining and exciting thing I could do with one man, because I wanted to be able to make a living, and I was just never, my music previously had never made enough money for me to really afford a band, especially once I grew up and did actually buy a house and have a mortgage and have a kid. And
right.
Now it's like I went from living where I needed nothing to like, oh, now I need a good bit of money every month. So I became a straight hustler with the guitar. I was playing sometimes 3 gigs in a day. I would do a brunch gig and a evening gig and then a late night gig. And I was just taking all the gigs I could get around town. And over time, I was only going to do it with my original songs. I wasn't going to become a cover band guy or something like that. I wasn't going to accept
Was that ever something that were you ever really into covers? It doesn't sound like that.
No, I always, to me, in my mind, it was like, probably just because I'm stubborn and whatever, but I was like, the amount of energy it's going to take me to sit here and learn a cover song to then perform for y'all a cover song, I could put that energy into writing my own songs. So,
thank you.
Which will then serve me later as well as now.
Man, I don't hate cover songs universally.
No, I don't.
There's so many bands that just play like what people are gonna sing at karaoke.
Yeah.
Or like I want to hear a cover song because it's a song I've never heard before, and you're introducing me to something. Because it's some song that I could go hear on the right. Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to please the crowd with a song that they had never heard, that was what got me really working on like the finger style that I bastardized and came up with for myself. I never learned a particular finger style for the same reason, because I don't want to get up there and I'm playing the exact same style as whoever, like Mississippi John Hurt or whatever. I don't want to be a copy of something. I want to, at some point, they made that up too. So,
yeah, you call it stubbornness. I call it like an avant-garde fucking.
It's.
I'm really like, I think that it's needed, necessary, a plot of. It's what makes you stand out, man. Is the fact that you don't just try to be, and you do it all like you've.
Yeah, I purposely try to play and sound like myself. I could have gotten a resonator and done the thing, wear suspenders, and I could do that. But like anytime anything comes in style, it's like I do the freaking opposite, because.
And it's almost
sometimes
it's almost like a punk rock belligerence that you take to everything that you do, and I fucking love that. Like is. And how have you like?
Even though I don't consider myself in the punk rock scene at all anymore,
but
in some ways it's totally punk rock.
No, there's punk music, and then there's just like being.
Once punk became a genre or a fad, it's like
but like this belligerence to like. Of non-conformity, but like,
that's what. Punk rock to me just meant freedom of expression, in freedom to play whatever you want to play.
And that's what I mean when I say that you bring that to whatever music you're doing. So can you just talk for a minute, really quick, before we wrap this up, about your songwriting process? I've heard a lot of songwriters talk it's like an antenna and they grab it and
Yeah.
and then sometimes it's a lot more intentional. And then I guess also part of that too now is like how much of a conscious effort do you put into blending genres and things like that when you're writing songs?
I don't know. None of the genre blending is not very conscious. I think that just happens because I listen to so many different genres, in particular, a handful in particular, a lot. But I do listen. There's certain things that like I can relate to. Like I can say I was rocking out to Juice by Todd Snyder on the whole drive here, but there's a lot in common with that with a freaking Notorious B.I.G. song. And that's the flow of the words, the flow of the rhyme schemes and the way they're laid out. So I'm very attracted to that. I love word flow, and I think it does a lot to a song. But I also I know my strengths are usually the lyric songwriting in the word flow, and then the playfulness, and then also the guitar. So I purposely work on the guitar stuff. Like I try to make it interesting and stand out on its own as well. So, a lot of the way I've gotten to the genre and style that I am is just on the fact that I knew I wanted and needed to be able to make a living as a one-man show. I knew I wanted it to be different. I knew I didn't want to sound like anything trendy, but a lot of the genres I play with are trendy at times if you picked them apart individually, but I don't think I fall into those if you listen to
the
it
difference
on
between
its
that
own.
being like by coincidence and like that being because you were trying to be trendy, right?
Yeah. A lot of my heroes really were one-man show guys and one-man entertainers from way back in the day, like blues guys who had monthly gigs at the same place every month, who did residencies all over their town or whatever. So that was part of as I read about people like that, it was like, okay, that is a very good business model that nobody lives by today. Everybody thinks you have to go tour and it's all about these making yourself look like more than you actually are, making yourself seem bigger or more famous than you really are. And that always was just so lame to me. That's like the fake social media world we live in now. But I wanted to actually make a good living and just be a local guy.
Yeah.
And like at the time, I had zero desire to go out and look like I had these big grandiose tours and I'm this rock star. It was like, I want to start small. I want to figure out a way to make a living in this little circle of an area, and then I want to slowly grow that.
What changed? What changed for you now? Because now it seems like you're touring a lot.
This last year I have been touring a lot, and a lot of that came to me and Matt talking and deciding to make make Yahola together. The very first tour I did was opening for Laura Jane Grace.
Yeah.
The Mississippi Medicals. That was the first tour I did with this solo stomp thing.
I don't think you opened for her when she played here, though, a couple years ago. I think that
this was 1 year ago. This was last September.
Yeah.
And I did come into Florida, but I don't think we did Tallahassee.
Yeah. No, last year she skipped Tallahassee. Yeah, she just did Gainesville, I think.
Yeah, we did do Gainesville. So
it was 2 years ago.
That tour went very well for me. I really had no clue what that would be like. She's very punk rock and reaches a young punk audience. And I thought they might think I'm just some old guy finger picking weird folky bluesy stuff, and they might not like it at all. But Matt was like, dude, I think you should do it. I really think they're going to like you more than you realize.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And it went well. I sold a lot of merch. I realized, oh, wow, I've been doing this in Birmingham so long. When you play locally all the time, Of course, you have your people that follow you and support you, but because you're playing so often, you're not getting them every night. And a lot of times you're playing to people that aren't really paying attention. So it's almost like in my head, I was all about just making enough money from the bar.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about, I was never doing real shows where I had to worry about ticket sales to bring in the money. It was just a flat fee everywhere I played, your background entertainment. I did that for 10 years. So I was used to that. I was used to people not caring. So suddenly to play real shows again where people were there to see you, I was nervous. Didn't know how it was going to go. But when it went really well, that's when Matt was like, if I book these tours for you or help you get some shows, would you be down to continue this and try? And I was like, yeah, because at home, my kid's gotten older. She's into theater. She's into music.
Yeah.
She has a social life. She's already like very busy.
Yeah. No,
My
I
wife
know how
works
that goes.
all the time. I was like, I guess this is a time now where I could actually go on the road more. So it's still a bit of an experiment right now, but
Yeah.
I'm realizing I can make an even better living doing it the touring way. I'm hoping now to build it and get another agent. And now that I quit drinking about 1.5 years ago, I'm taking
Congrats, man.
things very seriously now. I practice like every day. I'm trying to be as good as I can possibly be but I still want to keep it a one-man show. That's what inspires me. But I'm hoping now that I can build this into a real legitimate kind of career path.
I love this new record, man. I think you're definitely like heading the right direction there, man. So
Thanks. Thanks for helping me spread the word.
Fuck yeah, man. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna let you get to your show. And
Heck yeah, man.
And we'll put this out in a couple of weeks.
Sweet.
And everybody will get to hear everything about it. And I'll have links to the record and where you can buy it and
Awesome.
your tour dates and all that jazz. Is there anything else you want to mention really quick before we end?
Not necessarily. Just, we're closing in on the next record. It's going to come out. I don't know when yet. Hopefully early next year, I'm hoping.
Hell yeah.
I will be hitting the West Coast. A friend of mine, Harmar Superstar, totally different kind of music again. But he messaged me not long ago and asked if I would want to open up for his shows down the West Coast.
Nice.
So pretty excited about playing some of those clubs.
The thing is, man, here's what I always
there.
say about music, man. There's really only two kinds of music.
Yeah.
There's good music and there's bad music.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you so much for being here, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it. All right. That was my interview with Taylor Hollingsworth. He's fucking great. Spent the next couple of days with him. We went to spent the next couple of days with him here and there. Went to see him in Jacksonville. Went to see him in Dothan. Dothan has some cool little shows going on up there. If you're in that area, they're doing some stuff in their little amphitheater downtown. It was awesome. Taylor puts on such a fucking great show. It's really rare for me to be like completely captivated by somebody and just follow them to the next couple of shows, but that's what it was like. Talking to him was great. He's just like a great dude, but watching him play was phenomenal. And I wanted to hang out with him more and see him play more, and I hope you enjoyed the interview with him. A couple other guests we're going to have on soon. We've got Lanny Farmer coming on in a few weeks. He's a comedian in Athens, Georgia. He'll be headlining at the Foundry on the 23rd, next Thursday. I'll be there, and I'll be sticking around Athens. I'll be at the Rumpus, the Wild Rumpus. Y'all check that out. Kane Stanley's going to be leading the drum line in the parade. I've never been. I'm expecting it to be crazy. I'm going to interview a bunch of people, shoot a bunch of stuff, and show y'all what I find out about it. So thanks for tuning in to Overeducated and Underemployed, y'all. Hit that subscribe button. Next week, we got Danny Bedrosian from Parliament Funkadelic.